Hello everyone, welcome back to Market Graphic again. We're looking at the Nifty index today. This is a follow-up video to all the videos that have been going on in a series since July. If you were watching, you would have noticed a clear prediction of the trend that we're seeing today. Of course, today specifically, you're seeing the Nifty plunge a little, if you want to call 1.5% of plunge. The news headlines, however, want to call it a meltdown and all sorts of things. Look, it's a top indication that I've been talking about constantly, very clearly, with indicative levels, dates and times that it has happened. It is going to indicate us. Since July, I've been telling us that September, October is going to be a turbulent time. We're going to see top formation and then probably a slide down. And luckily enough, that's what's happened, because sometimes even after an indication of a top, the market tends to move forward. This has happened in the past as well, with the Nifty as well. And it has done so for years sometimes. So currently, if you're looking at the Nifty, it has formed a top, it has moved down slightly. And if you look at market sentiment, news analysis, if you're that kind of a person that looks at these things, you'll see a lot of talk about the current market discounting what is going to happen on the 6th of November in terms of US elections, a meltdown happening, the VIX being high, etc., etc., etc. You can definitely consider those fundamental points as analyses if you prefer. I, however, prefer to look at the price points that the market is telling us. And we've been talking about this since 2 months now. This is November, since September. And I'll tell you how advantageous is it to look at price performance versus going by the news and books and fundamental analysis and all of that stuff. Those are lagging indicators by a lot. This is a very clear current date indicator. It is not a leading indicator. I will never say technical analysis is a leading indicator. It can be at times, not always, but it can be very current to the market, and that's very important. It doesn't matter if you're able to predict actions 2 months ahead of time, if your action is going to have to be taken 2 months down the line. But it does really matter if your action is going to be predicted on a next date that is 2 days away from the action that you're going to take instead of 2 months. So current analysis is super important. The current analysis for Nifty in July for long-term investment was crystal clear that we're going to start seeing a top, right? A top formation, and then the Nifty entering an overbought zone. It did that very, very clearly. The Nifty did that in September. It entered a very clear overbought zone. So the first zone formed in July with this box here. In September, it indicated a very clear overbought zone entry. And then in September itself, very quickly, it indicated a top formation here. Now this could have continued. The Nifty could have come down here, simply tested this level and moved up and stayed above these. But what the Nifty decided to do, that it was going to break down from this level. That is our first indication to tell us that yes, this top has been confirmed. But the long-term analysis is still standing, where we're still looking to see if this is going to break down into a long-term downtrend. Yeah, medium to long term. Yeah. So this particular candle that I'm pointing at, which is on the 4th of October, was the first indication for us to tell us that we are at a confirmation of a top formation. And that also indicated that we are on a short-term downtrend. And it doesn't take a lot of rocket science to imagine which way the downtrend is going to be, where are the important levels, because we had already plotted these in. Now when I look at news articles talking about turbulence in the markets and changes globally that are happening on 4th of November, it is kind of a laughable matter because the Nifty has been indicating it for over a month and a half now. Okay? And you'd have to look at the Nifty in this technical manner to understand why it is saying that, what it is saying, and what is it that I need to do based on that. That's about it. So this particular candle here told us that it's on a short-term downtrend, meaning that any short-term positions should always be taken towards the lower side. And you can see how effective that is, right? Any pullback, you would have shorted it until it broke this level of 26,277. And anything below 25,333 indicates weakness, severe weakness. And that's what this candle indicated immediately. No pullbacks have happened. It just barely touched the bottom of that, tried again, failed, and it pulled down. And it pulled down to break the monthly levels, make the long-term investment levels at 24,771. And that was a big indicator. And that was this indication on the 17th of October. Now, when I speak of these are current trend indicators. They are leading sometimes and current trend. That is why they're important. Because if you're looking at the long term, this is where on the 17th of October, you would have decided that, okay, I'm not going to take any long positions on the Nifty anymore. I'm going to look to wait and buy, or I'm going to hedge my positions now. I'm going to make sure that you're short enough so that I can actually make a profit while the Nifty is going down, or cut my losses, right? Reduce my losses by hedging my positions. So this is where that important decision could have been made, including here. This would have been aggressive. This would have been a sensible place to make that decision. And you can see how that happens, right? 24,771. This candle here attempts to break it, closes at 24,795. Doesn't break through. This one bounces off it, shows a little bit of a pullback, goes up to it, doesn't reach this top yellow line because this is a zone, this yellow line zone is a separate zone compared to this red line zone. Hits the short-term downtrend indicator right here, pulls back again, tries again, fails and pulls back right below this. This time it closes below it, unlike here, it closes below it. So 24,771 was the line. It closed at 24,749. That's a clear confirmation that there is going to be extensive weakness. Now, does that always mean that there is going to be a crash? No, it doesn't. It just talks about a correction. It could be deep, it could be shallow, it could be a sideways zone, it could be whatever the market is going to tell us it's going to be. Right? What did the market indicate in July? Was that it had a lower zone of support and resistance right here. And it was an obvious one. When this breaks, it is going to head towards it. And immediately you can see that heading. Now, this is also a medium to short term compression zone. That means that it's not very strong. And you can see how the Nifty is breaking down from that level today. It's quite possible that it sustains above this, but the fact that it's trading lower instead of higher, you see these candles, right? You look at this zone as one zone now. This particular zone, 24,461, extends till 23,985. This particular zone, look at it as a singular zone, right? The Nifty tries to gain, crashes into it, tries to gain, stays very close to the top, right? 24,661. The peaks of these are 24,492 and 24,498. But you need it to be around 24,461. So you can see how borderline they are. But then when the dip happens today, this is still happening. The market's not closed. It's 2:15. There's still an hour and a half of trading left. If you see this particular thing, it indicates to you how weak the markets feel currently. Now, downtrends tend to develop very quickly, whereas upward moves tend to happen at a much slower pace, right? Pullbacks are quicker. So that means that there is money to be made on the downside there very quickly, but there's also a risk there because it can be very volatile too. Right? So this particular candle is broken through it. That tells you that, okay, if it's got two bounds, up and bottom and top, and the top is not really being breached, it's being respected very strongly, but the bottom's being breached, that tells you that it is weaker than stronger. And that's exactly what's happening with the Nifty here today. It's indicating weakness. That doesn't mean that it's going to slip away and forever be lost or anything of that sort. That is just a natural progression of the Nifty. It's doing that after an extensive rally that we've seen over the last couple of years. Yeah. So if you look at this particular chart and look at how far we've come. So if you look at this from 2022, the last 2 years, this rally has been very extensive. You can see the first blip here settles in, goes to about 50% of this up run, and then starts this massive run. And you can see every time there's a run, there would be a cool off period of 2 to 3 months, 6 months, or so on. There's a run, there's a cool off period. This one was slanting up, which was quite impressive, given the fact that there was election volatility and all of that. But you can see how the peaks, how the troughs are almost aligned at the same level here. We had looked at this as well when we were looking at July. We had pre-predicted this particular section boxed in. Even this exact candle, we knew it was going to stop right here. right? If you look at my July videos, you'll be able to see that. The next one went on further. Now you're seeing this particular run. Take a breather here. There is a good possibility. Now the question with this entire set would be that what do we do now? Where's the Nifty planning to stop? What is actually going to happen? What levels should we actually be looking at on the downside? Right? There are two things that you can use to predict the Nifty. What's actually happening on the Nifty, I'll tell you right now. I see in 2 weeks, in about next week or the week after, depending on how quickly the market comes down, or if it is sideways. If it is sideways, it might take 2 to 3 weeks. If it's going to come down rapidly, maybe in the next week or 2 weeks itself, we will start seeing a very clear indication of another medium term level forming, support and resistance zone forming, one of these that I keep drawing here. And that's going to be really crucial to the future of the Nifty. Currently, while we're watching the Nifty, we should ideally just watch for a target. Um, how to predict such a target? I'll try and draw a Fibonacci retracement. Those help sometimes. So if you look at this particular top and bottom, I'm just doing an approximation here. So please bear with me. I haven't really pinned down those levels, but they'll be pretty similar to where I'm drawing right now. So if you see this 50% line, it lies around 22,500. Right? So one of those levels that you can see the Nifty coming down to might be 22,500. The other one we could actually draw here and look at how that looks. Then it might be around this particular line, which is approximately where the Nifty is kind of right now. So 23,710. We've seen the Nifty cut down about 2,200 points. I definitely see it below 23,000. I don't think it's going to stop there. One of the first pauses that the Nifty is going to take is actually going to be above this candle, and that's going to be a very minor pause, right? This high of this candle is around 23,179, so 23,180 approximately is going to be one of the first pauses. The second one's going to be this little box that we drew before. This is how they're useful. Anything that we've drawn in the past can actually be brought into the future. And that's the most amazing thing about price performance. It helps predict what's going to happen in the future as well. And you don't really need to aim for very long predictions. You can literally go with the current. Like for example, what I mentioned, that in about 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see new levels forming here, which will tell us exactly what is happening on the Nifty in terms of support and resistance that are coming through. Right now, what the Nifty is going to do is it's going to try and sustain this level of 23,985 today or tomorrow. If it's not able to sustain it, it will definitely slip below it, but it will bounce back to try and test this level. And if it tries to test the top of this support and resistance zone, which is 24,461, that would be quite interesting, but it will still indicate overall weakness because the Nifty is below it, right? So look at the Nifty as a weak index currently and look at it from a hedging point of view for your positions. This is not the time to take up positions. Yes, you can buy on dips, but not yet. There is still room for the Nifty to move down further. In terms of long-term analysis, the Nifty is going through a correction, a major correction, and that correction is just begun. So it might go into a sideways loop. It might actually drop as well. And you can look at these levels as they develop. You don't need to predict them from here on. If you're panicking and if you're holding investments, I cannot give you investment advice, but what I would do right now is look at hedging. I would hedge my bets. I would also try and book some profits because this is not a bad area to book profits. You've lost about 2,200 points, but you've gained about 10,000 plus. So that's give and take 80% gain still. So that is if you got in at the right time. So you can definitely look at booking some profits and then waiting for the markets to settle and give you indications of further points of entry. That is still not there yet. 2 to 3 weeks, we should be able to see some more developments. I'll cover the Nifty week on week as I'm doing already. If you'd like to see a specific stock, because I like talking about specific stocks too, I spoke about Britannia in the past, Apollo in the past, HAL, Titan, UPL, LTIM. I've spoken about all of these, including banks as well. Please let me know which one you'd like, and I'd be happy to make a video about it. This is always going to be free. I'm going to be making these. I've had extensive experience in investing for myself and my friends and family, and I just wanted to put that out for everybody else to utilize. Please feel free to let me know what you like and don't like so that I can actually work on these presentation formats as well, how we're looking at charts and everything. But do let me know if it's a specific stock that you'd like to look at. I'd be happy to cover that for you. And thank you so much for watching. Do like, share, and subscribe, and come back for the next video.